Welcome back to Microsoft Access Database Training video 1, the second part. And in the first part of the video you would have created the 4 tables, which were the bookings, the customers, the properties and the staff. And if you see from mine that I've all made different field sizes and the different captions for each of the tables. And at this stage they're just basic tables. We're going to alter the tables a little bit, but the one that we are actually going to deal with is the table room allocation. And we're also then now going to look at an entity relationship diagram, or an ERD, and that shows how you can link the different tables together using one-to-many relationships. So if we look at our ERD, I have the 5 tables in, and again you'll see that I have room allocation. Now I have held back on actually designing this table because I'm going to talk through why this is important for a more complex database system. You could actually have a simple database system that would be relating to a booking, which would have the property, the staff member, the customers, all of them, their sort of details. What we want to actually do is we want to actually use a room allocation, and more complex database systems will use this sort of concept. For example, if you were having an invoice or a sales transaction, you might have a number of items in the actual one sale transaction, so your invoice number might be only one invoice number, but there will be a number of items, or your receipt might have a number of items in the receipt. So it's looking at how you can actually allocate the different more items into that one transaction, because in your actual booking system that we have here, one booking, there is only one transaction, so you can't have a booking reference and then 8 or 10 or 20 different items. What you would actually do is you would have to create fields within the one row, within the one booking reference, and you would have a field for item 1, item 2, item 3, item 4, or room 1, as this is the case, 2, room 3, room 4, room 5. And you could actually, what if you actually had more than rooms, that so you'd have all these fields that have to be created. And a simpler way around this is to actually use a table called an allocation table. So an allocation could be a book allocation, could be a seat allocation, could be an invoice allocation, anything like that there. Now technically this ERD is correct. The problem being with the room allocation is that the room allocation is actually to do with the booking transaction and not significantly to do with the actual property. So the property reference, yes, one property can have many rooms, but what we actually want to do is we want to have, and it's called a many-to-many relationships, which aren't sort of allowed within ERD, and you have to sometimes break the rule in these cases. But what it's doing is you're actually going to have your booking reference in the room allocation, and that booking reference will allow you to have one booking here. The property is going to be one property, and then within this here you can have many booking references, the same, because we're going to use a composite key. And the booking reference and the composite key would be a combination of the booking reference and the property reference on the room. Now you don't actually need the property reference because the property reference is already within the table bookings. So you could actually have a composite key with booking reference and room. We can also keep property reference in just for you can have it for just for information purposes, or you can do without having it in. So at this stage I'm going to change this to actually, I'm going to keep the property reference in because I'm going to have a composite key as a combination of booking reference and the room. And I'm going to just we can have property reference in, or we can take property reference out and we'll have booking reference in. And this is where one booking would have many rooms and one room could have many bookings. So that's where you have your many to many relationship. So we're now going to go, I'm actually going to just keep booking reference in there, and I'm going to start, I'm actually going to call this RA booking reference. So it's room allocation, booking reference, and a room, and that's going to be our two primary keys, which is going to be a composite key. So if we go back to our table or our database, and we're going to create a room allocation table. So we're going to start off with RA booking ref. And because this booking ref will be repeated a number of times according to how many rooms, according to how many items on a shopping transaction, according to how many books in a library transaction, according to how many whatever, it's, even though it's going to be a primary key, we have to have something that makes it unique, and it's what makes it unique is actually the room number. So the booking reference with the room number will actually make it a unique identifier. So that means that booking reference could be 1, 2, 3, so, and the room could be 1. So 1, 2, 3 and 1, then 1, 2, 3, 2, 1, 2, 3, 3, and that would make each of them individually different. So we're going to have booking reference. I'm going to go to my bookings again and just see what the field size is. So it's actually an auto number, so we actually can have booking reference as a number and not an auto number. And you'll also see when you create a number field, some of you might have seen this, and creating the currency field, the default value is set to 0. So if you don't want that to actually have a default value, you just take that out in the properties. We're going to have a booking reference, and we're going to put it as a primary key. I'm actually not going to put it, I'm going to put the 2 as a primary key, and the other one then is room. So I'm going to put the room, and again it's going to be a number 1, 2, or it could be A, B, C, D, E, 1, 2, 3, 4. So this stage we might use number, so again take that out. And what we're going to do now is we're going to highlight, so if you hold the mouse and click over the 2, so that you have the 2 fields highlighted, and hit primary key, that actually gives that booking reference your that makes your booking reference, or your booking reference and room combined is called a composite key. I'm going to go back then, we're going to put in the property reference, so I'm going to just call that RA property reference. And I'm going to leave that as, if I go to the properties, see what size they are, 5. So I'm going to set that to field size 5, and again it's going to be a text because it's text in this. Yeah, property reference is text. You might ask, why would you not have the rooms in the property? Yes, again you could have fields and it will make the property table with more fields, room 1, room 2, room 3. What happens if you have to add more rooms? What if you've got a property with more rooms? What if you've got a, so again, you could have it within the properties table, but a better way to do it is to actually use a separate table connected to the booking reference. So I'm going to have property ref, and again I'm just going to put my captions in at the same time. So booking ref room is alright, property ref, so I've now got my room property ref. Go back and let's see, just going to put a guest name in, Now this breaks normalization, the rules of normalization, where you have forename and surname and all them different details. What you would have for that there then you might have is a guest reference, which would mean you would have a guest table. Because we're only using it, it's a sort of redundant field. You can put in just the name of the guest. It doesn't actually have, it isn't linked to any other table. We don't want to link it. So again, guest name might be 120. And put our caption in. And our next one then is we're going to use a paid. I'm going to have that as a yes no, so it means if they've paid for it, yes no, and that could be per room. You could actually have the paid in the actual booking where it's an overall booking. For this here I'm actually going to use paid as part of the room. Again, some people might just have the paid and that the whole booking is paid, and you'll see as we go through this what it actually can do is it means that you want for each individual person that's booking the room that they have paid, or you can have it as an overall booking. And the last one then I'm going to have is booking status, or room status even. I'll change that too. And I'm going to have a drop down for it. Combo box, I'm going to use a value list, and I'm going to have fully booked or fully paid, comma reserved, comma or free. So if you were, this would probably more imply to something like reserving a bus, reserving seats in a bus or seats in transport, but for this here I'm just doing it in this. In the real world it probably would be your paid and status would be in the actual booking table. So I'm going to go and save this table as TBL room allocation, and I have just going to check captions in this one. Size 30. Paid is a yes no. So I can save my room allocation, and that there gives me now my 5 tables for this holiday properties. And what if we look at it in a real context, in the real world, you're booking the property, you would book the rooms, and you would pay for in the one transaction. In this here, we're sort of looking at the scenario that if there's free rooms that other people might, you know, that it could be part of the booking reference, but you can actually add people to the rooms. So we're just keeping it at that. So we'll look at our tables now. We have bookings, customers, properties, room allocation, and staff.